live at 6 p.m. If you'd all please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome everyone. This is the Union Township Board of Trustees meeting agenda for August 9th, 2022. Mr. Campbell, let the record show all three trustees are present. Gentlemen, we're being asked to approve minutes. Item 1, July 12th, 2022, regular meetings. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no discussion, Mr. Campbell, call the roll.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item 2, July 12th, 2022, zoning meeting minutes. Approval of those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Hearing no discussion, Mr. Campbell, call the roll.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker? Yes. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Campbell, do we have any correspondence from the fiscal office tonight?
No, sir, I have none. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Campbell. Moving down, we've got proclamations and special presentations this evening. So recognizing our Union Township Years of Service Recognition Program for August of 2022. We have Ryan Passett, Union Township Fire Department, 5 years of service on August 28th, 2022. There you are, Ryan. You can stand up for us all. Thank you. And Charles Ramsey with Union Township Fire Department, 5 years. That's also August 28th, 2022. Gentlemen, thank you for your service to our community. And Ryan, I see you out at Station 53. And Charles, what station are you at typically? 48's. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. You guys both came in on the same day and still staying right by each other. That's wonderful. A minute? Oh yeah, you're the minute. That's pretty funny. Well, we have this for you, gentlemen. If we bring this down forward.
Good, we can get out of this. Like Mac.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're going back to work, but give them a round of applause. All right, so that concludes our proclamation special presentations. At this time, are there any public comments? Okay, seeing none, continue with the agenda. Personnel actions. Chief Gaviglia, if you would, present.
Mr. Logue, Mr. Dills, Mr. Becker. Officer Grahamel, please step up, please. This evening, I'm presenting Officer Brent Grahamel for promotion to the rank of Communications Sergeant. After a thorough assessment, Officer Grahamel was selected for promotion. Officer Grahamel started his career with Union Township Police Department in October 2002 as a road patrol officer. He has served in various roles such as crash reconstructionist, administrative officer, and CLIA accreditation manager. Officer Grahamel has been the communications supervisor since 2012 and a CLIA assessor since 2014. Officer Grahamel is a 2002 graduate of Xavier University, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science in Criminal Justice. In 2008, Officer Grahamel graduated from the University of Cincinnati with a Master's of Science in Criminal Justice. He is also a 2002 graduate of Butler Tech Police Academy, where he earned his initial certification. In 2020, Officer Grahamel graduated from the APCO Registered Public Leader Program, and in 2022, he graduated from the Certified Law Enforcement Executive Program. Officer Grahamel served 19 years with Union Township Police Department and has received excellent performance appraisals from his supervisors. Since joining the police department in 2002, Officer Grahamel has demonstrated consistent top performance and has a high level of commitment to serving the citizens of Union Township. I'm pleased to request the board's endorsement of Officer Brent Grahamel for the promotion of rank of Communications Sergeant effective September 6, 2022. And Brent, on a personal note, thank you for your patience and your loyalty to the citizens of Union Township. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief. Gentlemen, we're being asked for a motion to approve the confirmation of promotion for Officer Brent Grahamel to Sergeant Communications in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement of September 6, 2022. Do we have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Great, gentlemen. Any discussion on?
Brent, you've been here for 20 years, is that right?
Yes, sir, always fun.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. You could have gone any police department. You have stayed very loyal to our department for 20 years. You're also in charge of the dispatch center, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. How's it going?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how those ladies do it. I've been in there many, many times, and I could not multitask the way that they do, and I assume you know how to do that as well, but just job well done. It's a very tight ship over there, so,
Thanks.
yeah, well done, sir. Yeah.
Yeah, at my very first tour of the police station you gave me, so it's always been great seeing you over there. You know, be able to share some personal stories and stories of your cousin who served in combat with me as well. God rest him. So that's always stood out to me, so thank you. And then also, I recognize this position, and I've talked to the chief in the past too, you know, you've been doing the work or duties of, you know, having to go in when there's someone that calls off, or, you know, the basic going into that role of what a supervisor position is. So I think this is phenomenal to be able to have you promoted to that position that you've been doing the hard work of for all these years. So thank you very much. All right, no further discussion. Roll call, Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker? Yes. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Brent.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thanks for being part of the teams.
Congratulations. Good job. Thank you.
Grahamel, on behalf of Union Township Police Department and Chief Viglio, we would like to present you with a certificate of promotion to Communications Sergeant. Along with your, open that up, it has your chevrons and your badge. And appreciate it, sir. Congratulations.
Chief Caviglia, will you present your second personnel action this evening?
Great. Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, this evening I'm presenting Officer Chad Bullock for promotion to the rank of Patrol Sergeant. After a thorough assessment, Officer Bullock was selected for promotion among an excellent group of candidates. Officer Bullock started his career with the Union Township Police Department in March of 2003 as a patrol officer after serving 4 years in Ohio State Park Service as a park officer. On the patrol division, he has served as field training officer, shotgun and pistol armor. In May of 2015, Officer Bullock earned his Master Criminal Investigator certificate through APATA. And in 2022, he was assigned to the Clermont County Narcotics Unit, where he's currently serving. Officer Bullock earned 2 associate's degrees in 1998 from Hocking College in Natural Resources Law Enforcement and Recreation Wildlife Management. He earned his Ohio Peace Officer Basic Training Certificate from Hocking College in 1999. Officer Bullock has served 19 years with Union Township Police Department, has received excellent performance appraisals from his supervisors. Since joining the police department in 2003, he has demonstrated consistent top performance and has a high level of commitment to serving the citizens of Union Township. I'm pleased to request the board's endorsement of Officer Chad Bullock to the promotion of rank of sergeant effective September 6, 2022. Chad, just on a personal note, thank you for all you've done over the years. I've known both you men almost 2 decades. It almost seems impossible that that's went by that long, but thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief. Gentlemen, we're seeking a motion for approval to confirm Officer Chad Bullock to Sergeant in accordance with collective bargaining agreement effective September 6, 2022. Do we have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, gentlemen?
Chad, I remember sitting down with you at was it Grandma's?
Yes, sir.
And I was pounding you with a lot of questions.
Yes,
And,
you were.
You were excellent and very bold and honest with answering me, and I appreciate that, very forthcoming. 19 years at Union Township. Appreciate you very much. It's a long time. And I know, again, same thing I said to Brent, you could have gone anywhere, and you've stayed very loyal to us. I appreciate that. Appreciate your hard work and dedication, sir, very much. So,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, I respect you very much. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Beck.
I'm good.
Well, just recalled sitting in Mount Carmel in the rain and talking with you for a great long while. And I had 2 kiddos in the back seat, and you know, I don't know how many suckers I fed them during that conversation that we had window to window, but it was really nice to have that candid conversation with you. So
Thank you, sir.
thank you for that.
What did he pull you over for?
I pulled him over.
Who is this guy?
I pulled him over, but that's very good. Yeah, thanks. So, but no, it was wonderful. So thank
Did you give him a warning or a ticket? Or anything? No? Okay, all right.
No recollection.
Oh, that's too funny. All right, gentlemen, no further discussion. Roll call, Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Dills?
Yes,
Mr. Becker? Yes. Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
congratulations, Chad.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thanks for being part of the team.
Congratulations, thank you.
Let them do that presentation.
Chief Caviglia and the Police Department Command Staff, I'm proud to present you with your promotional certificate of the rank of sergeant.
We're gonna go do a picture.
Your sergeant's badge and your chevrons. Congratulations.
Ms. Sayers,
Yes.
so we've got 2 follow-up, or we got another administrative or personnel action here. If we keep everyone seated, then we can all do a photo with all of our
Sure.
promotees and hires.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So yeah, if you guys
You can hang out
stay
for
put
one
for a few
moment.
minutes. Ms. Ayers?
The next person we have for personal actions, I am asking if Mr. McCormick could come to the podium, asking to confirm the appointment of Mark McCormick to the position of Director of Development effective 8/24/22. Further appoint him for all designations as zoning director that are listed under applicable zoning resolutions and all other township references to such position. Mr. McCormick's here with us this evening. He has a degree in urban planning and development from Ball State University, has been working as the Director of Planning and Zoning for the Dearborn County Plan Commission since 2006. Went through a few interviews with staff. I was very impressed with Mr. McCormick's desire and impact to want to get in on the ground and get a lot of things done. We talked a lot about his experience in the planning and zoning field, but also grant writing, some work on the same OKI regional boards that we participate in as well. And I'm looking forward to bringing him on.
Thank you very much. Gentlemen, we're being asked to approve the confirmation for appointment of Mr. Mark McCormick to the position of Development Director effective August 24th, 2022, and further to appoint him for all designations for Zoning Director under the applicable zoning resolution and all other township references to that such position. Do we have that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion, gentlemen?
Mark, just excited to have you on board. Ms. Ayers speaks very highly of you. I know you went through a very intense, several rounds of interviewing, and you seem to check mark everything in the boxes. And Union Township's a big beast. I mean, 50,000 residents, a lot of growth, but there's a lot of growth with also a lot of, maintaining our green space in Clermont County. We're not inner city, but we understand there's growth here as well, and you understand that. And so we're excited to have you on the team, very much, so.
Mr. Becker?
Yeah, I just want to say welcome to Union Township. I think you're going to love it here. You're going to find some challenges, and but I think you're going to find the people you work with are great, and you're going to like Union Township. It's a great place here. Welcome.
Yeah. How are you with records request?
I mean, never had a problem with records requests. Always turning them around as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Sometimes that could be a challenge here, records request, so I'm glad that you feel confident with that. That's great. So, perfect. Good. That's all I got.
Mr. McCormick, yeah, we look forward to having you on board here. lot of great opportunity in the 29 square miles that's Union Township for where we can work hand in hand with businesses. The school board's always very interested in the economic development. The people of the community are very interested in smart development and where we balance things, correctly, where we're dense in the areas that should be dense, and we, are smart development in the areas that we need to be. That's respectful of property rights, and it's going to be great to have you on the team. We're able to bring stakeholders to the table and engage them, and we really look forward to that engagement. So thank you very much, and we're happy to have you on the team.
Very much looking forward to the opportunity to start working here and work with the team. Really excited about it, and appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That closed our discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mark.
Come on up and we'll handshake. All down the line.
Look forward to it, Mark. Absolutely. Good to see you. Pleasure. Thank you.
Welcome, team.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, we're looking forward to having you. We'll see ya.
All right, with the promotions and with Mr. McCormick, now would be a good time. We're going to slide the podium to the left and just get a couple of quick pictures with our new promotees and new hire. So, gentlemen, we'll step down. Aaron, you come join your husband for a picture? Thank you for serving. Whole family serves. Oh, yeah, I left off a big comment. Was it gonna be a fire or the police that were gonna ask you to be a sub on the basketball game? Who needs a hike right now? The fire department. Fire does? Yeah, that's right. We got 6 foot 6 guys, right? Yeah. Oh, did he want to bring his family up? guess I missed that.
That's all right.
Assistant Chief 5, if you'd like to press forward.
Do you want me to take this or do you want
Susan.
Or,
to? May I address?
yes, please.
Thank you.
Yep.
You know, I never like to get to this point, but I am asking, received a recommendation from the fire department for the termination of firefighter Scott Fay, and asking, and conferring that recommendation, asking you to confirm the termination at this point. We've gone through all of the required disciplinary procedures through the collective bargaining agreement, and unfortunately, we've got to this point.
Understood. Gentlemen, do we have a motion to confirm termination of firefighter Scott Fay in accordance with the collective bargaining agreement?
So moved.
Second.
Hearing, any discussion, gentlemen? No discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call?
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, moving forward, we've got department reports. Assistant Chief Mark 5, if you would, with Fire and Emergency Medical Services, please.
Mr. Logue, thank you. During the month of July, the Union Township Fire Department responded to 225 fire and service calls, responded to 586 emergency medical responses. We made 598 patient contacts that resulted in 413 patient transports to area hospitals. We participated in 602 training hours, participated in 23 public education details, and provided 11 hours of ride time for paramedic students. We conducted 55 life safety inspections and participated in 3 inspections with Clermont County Building Department. That concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, any questions for Assistant Chief 5?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Assistant Chief 5, appreciate all the work you're doing. Police, Chief Scott Vigiglia.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. For the month of July 2022, the Communications Center handled approximately 5,700 calls for service for police, fire, and EMS. They processed 323 juvenile and adult court-related documents. The Public Affairs, Crime Prevention, the trailer was out at the St. Thomas More Festival. I'll talk a little bit more about the National Night Out next month. Lynn, are you still here? Lynn's president of the Union Township Citizen Alumni Association, and she'll have a little for us next month as well. So, Lynn, thank you for that. The patrol side of things, we took 336 incident reports, investigated 114 crashes, initiated 327 traffic stops with 141 citations and 216 warnings. We took 604 field interrogation reports, made 132 criminal arrests, 80 traffic arrests, and served 117 warrants. K-9 unit recovered 83 grams of marijuana, 5 grams of ecstasy, 10 grams of heroin, 44 grams of methamphetamine, and 38 prescription pills in July. Investigations to date has closed 191 cases, and fuel for the month was $15,000 with about 34,000 miles driven by the officers. That concludes my report, John.
Gentlemen, any comments for the Chief?
Just one. So Chief, we just promoted 2 officers to sergeant. So just question as far as staffing road patrol. I know we're a little short-handed. So what are your thoughts as far as the future with that?
Sure. Mr. Dills, thank you, and I appreciate the opportunity of being able to address the board in this manner. I'll be as brief as I can. The short 5,000-foot answer is whenever you have a hire additional staff, you should have hire additional supervision like the fire department did, but it goes more than back. So I'm going to take a moment and pull the curtain back on the PD. So people that aren't familiar with it can kind of understand what's going on. Union Township's allocated for 55 sworn officer positions and 14 civilian dispatch positions and 1 civilian employee. So that's 70 allocated positions. Of those 70 positions, 66 positions are covered by the current collective bargaining agreement. So 94% of the police department employees are covered by the union contract. Union Township answers approximately 50,000 calls for service a year. This is one of the highest call rates in the region of comparable jurisdictional size. It's important at this point to compare apples to apples. A logical question would be, what about jurisdictions that are our size and have the comparable number of officers or many more, but answer 15 to 20,000 less calls? Do they have too many officers, or does Union Township have too few? That's not quite the direct question, but it's one we're going to need to address going forward. These promotions will allow us to recognize a communications supervisor. This is a vital role. This person oversees 14 dispatchers and approximately 65,000 inbound calls a year. This position was overseen, as you heard, by Officer Grahamel, who just carried a rank of a patrol sergeant. In 2022, with the professionalism and the amount of liability that comes through that center every minute of every day, that was no longer effective, efficient, professional, or practical, so it was filled by somebody of a supervisory rank. We currently have 2 lieutenants and 6 patrol sergeants to manage, supervise, and perform all administrative tasks of a $10 million budget. Union Township's a very flat organization. We've always done far more with less. However, as we continue to grow and respond to a high call rate, we need additional supervision, and that needs risen. With the promotion of the 2 road officers, we can now have a relief sergeant. As of today, this very moment, whenever a sergeant takes off, it forces the other 2 sergeants to work a 12-hour day. All the sergeants are at maximum vacation time, so this happens very frequently. And if a sergeant's gone for a long period of time, injury, illness, or extended training, a sergeant can work weeks or months on the 12-hour schedule. And speaking from direct experience, when I was a sergeant, working weeks on end on 5 12-hour shifts is zero fun. These are working sergeants. At other places, the sergeants sit at the desk and answer the phone. That's not how it is at Union Township. These sergeants are out working calls, so we're not missing anything on the patrol by promoting these men. In the future, we'll move one of the sergeants to an administrative role, which directly helped Lieutenant Reese, who you saw here before. Lieutenant Reese is the road patrol commander and the second command of the agency. That, in and of itself, is a full-time job. However, Lieutenant Reese has a number of other responsibilities. He's in charge of ordering all the supplies for a 70-person organization, uniforms, paying the bills to keep the lights on, training, purchase orders, and many, many other things. This administrative role will help Lieutenant Reese with these tasks and also support the role when needed. And finally, we're completing our pledge to the voters that overwhelmingly passed the last safety services levy of hiring 4 additional officers, 2 in 2021 and 2 in 2022, an increase in supervision and training. I could go on for a long period of time, but in short, these promotions will increase road coverage, increase efficiency and effectiveness, and increase supervision and accountability. I've tried to be succinct, but not too overly broad. I hope I answered your question, sir.
Perfectly. Yeah, thank you, Chief. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief. Chief, we're definitely seeing the impact of fuel costs going up.
It is. We've taken some measures. The Explorers are actually a little better on fuel than the Crown Vics were,
Yeah.
but they're still not great.
Yeah.
We're doing our best with that.
Yeah, I'm just seeing
Yep.
that cost as it stands out from what it was.
We're absolutely
prior
spiking
to-
right now.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
All right, gentlemen, Service Department, Mr. Matthew Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. In the Cemetery Division, from July 1st through the 31st, 22 burials were performed, generating $13,050. 13 resident graves were purchased, generating $7,150. 7 non-resident graves were purchased, generating $10,500. 2 columbarium niches were purchased, generating $2,400. 3 cremation scattering gardens were purchased for $1,500. So the total amount generated for the period was $39,709.60. In the Roads Division, a total of 42 work orders were completed on 32 township roads, and staff completed ditching within the township right-of-way on 17 streets totaling 1,209 feet. And in the Parks Division, staff provided setup and cleanup for the concerts on 7/2, 7/16, 7/23, and 7/30, and 44 shelter requests were filed and filled in the month of June. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Taylor?
No, just one comment. Our service department is absolutely dedicated to taking care of potholes but we don't have eyes on every single road. And our parks are important, our roads are important, and so if anyone has a road that's an issue, they're important. It's top priority for safety for the folks that travel on those roads. So if anyone sees something that needs to be repaired or fixed, Mr. Taylor and his team are top-notch. I mean, they're on it within a couple days. So just report it, let us know, and it is important. So, yeah, just wanted to make sure that was known. And but basically, gosh, I mean, it's tough to drive down every single road and find out what we see. So if anyone sees anything that's wrong, let us know, let your team know, and we'll be on top of it. So, yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Becker?
Yeah. Yeah, on that topic, just continuing with Mr. Dill said, most of our roads in Union Township, or at least on main roads, are county roads, so maintenance is their responsibility. But we work with the county, and, you know, if we learn of whatever issues, we notify the county and work together to get it taken care of. What I wanted to ask Mr. Taylor about was the gymnasium. So the floors were just finished.
Yes, sir.
Kind of walk us through, you know, how often does that get done? You know, what kind of cost are we talking about? And I'm concerned with that being a new voting location. The traffic, you know, from, you know, the citizenry going in and out of there, is that a concern for damage to the floor at all?
So this is obviously the first year we've ever used the gym to vote on. So it was somewhat of a trial run. Well, let me back up from there. The gym floor is resealed every year.
Every year?
Every year, it's an annual recoating because they play basketball on it throughout the winter. So they reseal it every year. It's $2,772 to reseal the entire gym floor.
Okay.
Jiba, who is or I guess if you want to say the financial sponsor to us, they give us $2,000 for, you know, partly using the gym floor. They're not required to, but they do that as a goodwill, I guess, if you want to call it. So there is a means to cover the gym floor. It takes about 4 hours and about 4 people, and it looks like tarps, and they're thick vinyl tarps. But so we weren't sure about this one this past time. I believe it was 254 people that went through the gym on this past election, and that's why I wasn't sure how many people were going to go through it. If it's a presidential year, it's probably quite a bit more. Being as it may, you know, maybe next time we will cover the gym floor if we're going to house it all there, or we try to look at maybe this main meeting hall and the Queen City room downstairs, or we explore other options too, if the gym doesn't work.
Okay. Yeah, I stuck my head in the gym on election day to kind of see how it was set up and how things were going. It looked like it was very well organized. You know, Board of Elections had it all set up real nice. Of course, there wasn't a lot of traffic, so it was very low turnout. But yeah, I was just, you know, wondering if you know, black shoe marks, you know, heel marks, that type of thing can inadvertently damage the floor. But sounds like we're just going to kind of wait and see, but probably nothing to be concerned about.
Yeah, it was, so the election was on Tuesday, the gym floor was resealed on Thursday. It was just by chance that it happened, at least at this time. Obviously, the primary was much later than previous years. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Yeah, that's kind of right in the cost and scope that I had always heard previously for at least the resealing of the gym floor. That's new information as far as Jiba, so that's great to hear. So it seems like it's very minimal impact to being able to open the Civic Center and being able to host and welcome the voting locations for this precinct. So I think that's a great use of the taxpayers-funded Civic Center. Do you, and you don't have to give me an answer on this right on the spot, but do we track, or can we track kind of the capacity and utilization of the gym? If we were to say what's, 100% utilized versus where we're at from whatever civic event that it may be, or basketball game? Just,
I don't know the answer directly, but
That's fine.
I'm
Doesn't need an
sure
answer
that
right
we
now.
could probably track some numbers.
yeah,
Some things, we would have to maybe get some information from Jiba, and then we may be able to track on the reservations,
Okay.
at least from the gym.
Okay.
It would be much more challenging if you wanted to track like the amphitheater out back for concerts. And
right,
I mean, it would be some challenging.
yeah,
We could do it for some of the rooms
yeah.
as well, just based on reservations.
Yeah, and well, I don't want to push anything that's overly burdensome, especially right now, because that's more of a manual process, but I think that if we, as we can take steps to do some integration of technology that will be able to automatically track that type of information for us, that'd be great.
That was
Ms.
what I was
Ayers?
going to point out is, one of my goals is to work through some of our information systems so that we have more automation in place. And one of those things is the reservation system, and I think it would be a lot easier if we get the proper IT infrastructure in place to then have online reservations and a way that we could run those reports and queries pretty easily off of the online system.
Great, thank you. And Mr. Taylor, we were talking a little bit at the police night out. We came in, just $1 away from what was authorized for the repavement program this
Yes,
year?
sir. Yeah,
$900,000? It was 899,000? Yeah. Which, is significant to take care of the roads in the community. Because I think that's about, obviously, we got stuck with inflationary costs this year, which is unfortunate, but from years in the past, if we take the cost out and we just go by mileage, I mean, what was the increase in taking care of miles? What were we this year in total mileage, roughly?
It was about 3.5 miles.
3.5 miles, and
Yeah.
years in the past, what
It
were
was,
we about?
Probably much less than that.
Yeah, it's about 200,000, 250,000 has been spent on
Yeah.
roads.
The only downside, like you said, is we had about a 35% increase due to the cost of oil.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. But we've got to take care of the roads for the residents. And I know Ms. Ayers will touch on, but it's just exciting news, again, for the parks. The push that I had with our staff in the past was to pursue a capital budget funding for our parks. And we've got that $122,000 coming in for pickleball courts at Clermont Park, which would be great there. And then also, ever since day one being here, seeing, the tears in the playground equipment, the flooded areas of the playground equipment, we were able to work with the county to be able to receive a community development block grant for $125,000 for Clermont Park. So it's just great to be able to collaborate that way. And I know, one of the asks that I've put out as far as this, what's the park plan look like, and what does master planning look like. So I know that's something that you'll be continuing to have in work and in development. So nothing on the spot with that, just those are exciting and great things. So thank you for keeping up all the hard work what you're doing. You and all the workers in the service department, and thank you.
Mr. Logue, I had spoke with Mr. Berkey, and he keeps track of all the gym numbers. I had this conversation with actually relatively recently. So maybe at the next meeting, we can announce those numbers, and Scott can put that together for us, but he should have all those numbers put together for us. So, yeah, just so you know.
All right, thank you. Gentlemen, we'll just continue on with planning and zoning. Mr. Craig Flouty.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. For the month of July, with the zoning inspection and violations, there were 71 inspections, 9 complaints filed, 3 unfound complaints, 3 warning citations, 2 15-day noncompliance letters, 1 30-day violation, 11 resolved with and without action, 232 illegal signs removed, 7 miscellaneous issues resolved, 8 violations with the monthly total, with 12 re-inspections of violations. The permit activity for July, there was 1 commercial permit issued, 4 change of uses, 11 signs, 1 temporary sign, 6 single-family homes issued, 4 additions, 5 decks, 4 accessory buildings, 15 pool and fence permits for a grand total of 51 permits with a revenue of $7,035 for the month of July. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Flouty. Gentlemen, any questions for Mr. Flouty?
Mr. Fowley, good job. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Becker? We got a lower number on the illegal signs removed this month, but I'm still astounded, 2,175.
Right.
So that's something that the residents see, and now they're not seeing them, so that's good. On to Ms. Susan Ayers for our administration report.
Thank you, sir. Administrator's report this month. Open checkbook is up to date through the end of July. I was made aware there was 1 outage this month on the website for the township. Township staff reported the data to the state, who they then run the website. State officials were noted of the outage, and they corrected the issue. So still working through that process, but it is up to date and online available for anyone's review. The farmers market continues to go really well, and I appreciate Brenda's effort in getting all that coordinated. We've had some really good feedback, and I think it's been working really well this year, so I'm really pleased about that. I fielded some complaints continuing this month from residents on the border around the Glen Estee campus development about the clearing and construction dust concerns. I continue to work with the developer and the construction folks to try and help address those issues as they come up. So I understand construction can be hard and there are some growing pains, but we're continuing to address and work through those. We've had great partners with the construction folks who are helping us work through those. I also wanted to bring to everyone's attention, received notification from Duke Energy that they're going to be upgrading the substation at Summerside. This will involve replacing a transformer that switches the voltage levels between the high transmission voltage and then the lower distribution voltage that goes to home and businesses. The transformer will be located along the south end of the substation. They're expanding the fencing, new vegetation, modernizing the transmission pole. People should be aware construction will start in September or October of this year and continue through late May next year. Duke is going to be reaching out to local residents in August to discuss this and let them know if they have feedback to provide a number to get that done. But I wanted to bring it to everyone's attention that that's going to be going on, and construction's no fun, but again, this will upgrade the resources available to the community, so we're happy to see Duke stay on top of those types of issues. I've also received, since I've been here, a lot of questions about sidewalks and hike bike transparency. This month, I received notice from the U.S. Department of Transportation that they're expanding and opening up an expanded grant program for the Safe Streets and Roads for All. This is a competitive grant program established under the bipartisan infrastructure law, has a goal of significantly reducing or eliminating roadway death and serious injury. There's going to be $1 billion in funding available in the first year. Options to apply for implementation grants using existing safety action plan or to create those plans. So I am working with our staff, potentially a project for Mr. McCormick while he's still sitting here, and West Clermont Schools to partner together to talk about safe routes around the township, putting in more sidewalks through grant monies if we can, and hopefully we will have some more information about that moving forward. But I wanted everyone to know that we hear those questions and concerns, and we're going to take some steps to try and address them while we have these types of grant opportunities available. Mr. Logue made a allusion to the reference to the park money that we've received. Happy to report a few things. We have received grant money from the state to put in pickleball courts at Clever Park, also from the county CDBG to put in new playground equipment at Clever Park. We're really excited about that. The Parks and Recreation Committee will be meeting tomorrow here at the Civic Center at 6 p.m. I think we're going to be in Riverview. So please, if you'd like to come out and listen, observe, hang out, we'd love to have everybody. My intention is to have some discussions with them and start to get some recommendations together about, as we look at our park system, do we want one premier park? Do we want to spread out some of the funding and amenities? And how do we want to really enhance what we have and make that an amenity that everyone can be really excited about using? So we're excited about getting that process started. And that's what I have this month.
Thank you, Ms. Ayers. Gentlemen, any questions, comments?
Ms. Ayers, thank you for your report. Great job. Number one feedback I get from West Clermont school parents, well, not number one, but one of the top issues is sidewalks. So the question is, so for example, I live off Clough, and Clough is a very narrow, dangerous road, if you ask me. And so, but that's a county road. That's not a township road. Thoughts on this, if we can able to make it more safe and have a sidewalk from Clough and shoot it all the way down to West Clermont High School? I think parents would be very happy and pleased, even all the way down to Veterans Park, the helicopter park. But it's not our road. What are your thoughts on that?
I think this grant is a great opportunity because they encourage multiple entities to come together.
Yeah.
And, if we're going to be spending that much money from the federal government, let's get it here in Union Township. So if we can work with our partners like West Clermont School, like the county, and say, hey, look, let's put in a joint application for roads that are in Union Township, I think that demonstrates great cooperation to the federal government entities that are giving the grants, but also gives us a chance to spread out the money for those that are in need.
Yeah.
So I think we'll talk to all of our partners along the way. I've had those initial conversations with West Clermont, so their transportation folks can tell us, hey, here's where we have some concerns. Is it Clough? Is it somewhere else?
Sure.
And that we can use that to really jumpstart, and then we'll work with our other partners to say, hey, let's all apply together, because here's where we think the joint need is.
Yeah, I would like to, I absolutely encourage you, if you can, just to absolutely blast and surround all of West Clermont High School with sidewalks. We know there's a busing issue, and that's outside necessarily our realm. We're not on the school board, it's not us, but still. But it's difficult, no buses, so some of these children, high schoolers have to walk.
Absolutely.
There's no sidewalks.
Absolutely.
So whatever you got to do, full support. I would absolutely love to have sidewalks absolutely blasted all over the area as much as possible, especially in the surrounding radius of the high school. Full support on it, whatever you got to do to make it happen.
Great.
Absolutely. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's all I got, sir.
Mr. Beck?
I'm good.
Hey, thanks for the report, Susan. I'll just drop a quick note to you. I was having a conversation with Senator Terry Johnson, and he made reference to make sure that the staff was taking a look and either coordinating with his team on the Appalachian grant funds that are coming, because again, Clermont County is the westernmost county applicable for those. And so I think the intent there is think big. So, so have the staff and team researching that. Would be great. And then looking forward to hearing more as pickleball is that obviously such a nationally growing multi-generational sport, which is just really great. There's a lot of, I think, feedback to get from those that are serious about it. I've had a few conversations, and there's a lot of things I was not aware as far as the distance of the court to the fence matters, so people aren't too tight up against the fence. You want to be able to have some room for some bleachers for people to put clinics on. Things like the manufacture of the net, or a manufacture of the net that allows for the ball to roll underneath, because our older populations like to hit the ball and roll it underneath instead of like picking it up and putting it back over top. So just these unique things that make it a world-class pickleball court for a community park. So just that's exciting. So I think as long as we keep all of that in mind.
Great.
But yes, thank you very much, Ms. Ayers. Appreciate it. And Jen will continue on. We're now to our public hearing for the agenda. If we could have the presentation for Union Township case number 805 Zulu, major amendment.
Yes, thank you, sir. We have one case tonight. It is a major amendment case to 8-05-Z. It is for the TQL expansion. The applicant is TQL with the contact info, Miller Valentine Commercial Construction. The applicant has submitted an application requesting a major amendment to an approved PD plan development to develop an addition to the existing TQL building. The proposal includes a new three-story, 157,000 square foot addition with approximately 3,000 parking spaces present and future, pedestrian walking paths, landscaping, and other improvements. The proposed amendment to the approved PD is located along the western side of Ivy Point Boulevard and focused to the south of the existing building. Let's see here. The PowerPoint's, there we go. All right. Sorry, the PowerPoint wasn't working there. Some project history. Originally, the 100-plus acre Ivy Point Commercial Park plan development received approval from the Board of Trustees in February of 2006. This original approval consisted of primarily concept layout for the project site. TQL has received and built their Phase 2 portion of the office expansion with approximately 122,000 square foot within that phase. Additionally, since then, they have acquired the Ivy Point Park to add additional parking with the office space. Some land use and zoning characteristics. Presently, the subject property is zoned PD plan development, with the site bordered on the north by vacant property, also zoned PD. Lands to the east of the commercial park are zoned R1 single family and ER state residential. The applicant currently controls the majority of land within the Commerce Park. Some staff review and analysis. Overall, the proposed PD major amendment appears consistent with the overall intent of the Ivy Point Commerce Park. PD approval, building facade, materials appear to be well designed and attractive and well integrated with the existing site and improvements. The additional access drive with the existing Ivy Point Park will provide a much needed means of ingress egress to the site and will facilitate a future access point as property develops. The parcel configuration has been revised to allow for orderly delineation of boundaries for each proposed office structure. The PD plan should also consider tying in the side walking path with the parking expansion on the northern side of the Ivy Point roundabout. The extension should be considerate to the potential development to the north, allowing for the sites to connect via the walking path. Additionally, there should be the additional pedestrian sidewalks in the drive aisle next to the detention pond. Having sidewalks on both sides of the drive will limit cross pedestrian traffic and limit pedestrians crossing down the drive aisle. Consideration to the sidewalk should also be geared towards the southern portion of the site, ensuring the connectivity between the parking lot expansion and the newly proposed building. The landscaping plan and architectural elevations submitted are substantial quality and represent a strong investment in the community. Lighting fixtures are anticipated to match the lighting pattern already in place at the TQL site, and landscaping is within the scope of the improvements. Additional signage has not been included within the application. Any new signage should be subject to administrative review and approval. The action tonight is in accordance with Section 680 through 687 of the zoning resolution, that the Board of Trustees is to enter into a motion to approve with some modification, or deny the applicant's request to approve the major amendment to the approved PD development. There are 3 recommended modifications tonight, the first being to complete the walking track pedestrian youth path to be constructed concurrently with the proposal. This would encompass the entire site, with the walking path connecting through the northern portion of the site for any future development connections to the northern portion. The second condition is to provide additional pedestrian connectivity to the southern portion of the site. This shall include an additional sidewalk along the drive aisle near the detention pond, and any additional sidewalks to connect the parking lot to the proposed building expansion. And lastly, the third recommended modification, with the no additional signage being included in the application, all additional signage should be subject to administrative review and approval. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Flaherty. All right, this is a public hearing, so at this time I'll open the case. Is there anyone here that wants to speak as a proponent of this public case? All right, seeing none. Is there anyone that would like to speak as an opponent of this public hearing? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, open it to board comments. Do we anticipate anyone for? Okay.
Pair that up.
Okay, go. Yeah, I'll start. 156,000 square feet. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah, it was a little under. Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And then, Ms. Ayers, we're looking at about 1,000 new jobs with this expansion?
It's the anticipation is.
Excellent, love it. I love the walking path, it's great. TQL is a great partner, excellent partner in Union Township. Their headquarters is here. Love it. I love their confidence in this board. I love their confidence in our team and our administration. Clearly, they show that. And look, business is good. I think don't let off the gas, and clearly they're not. And they're showing a lot of confidence in our township, in the future of our township. That's great. So I love it, and I see no issues with it. So,
Mr. Becker?
Yeah, first off, dittos to everything Mr. Dills just said. Yeah, TQL is definitely the pride of Union Township. We really love them, appreciate them being here. Something I am curious about, Mr. Flaherty. Can you
Yes.
kind of compare and contrast a little bit how the new wing that they're building compares to the previous wing that they just built?
Yes.
It's gonna be a little bit bigger, shape different
So-
angle, or pretty much a mirror image?
It's a little bit bigger than the last one, but if I can show you up on the screen here, if you can see the mouse moving, this smaller rectangle box here, that is the original that was built, the four-story main center building. This side here, this is the most recent addition that you see. It kind of sticks out towards 275 there. And then they're proposing to mirror it on the other side of the main portion of the building. So it still has the same concept with the, kind of winged out towards I-275. So it is a little bit larger, but it's around the same, it's pretty much the same footprint. The elevations show the similar design with the brick and glass elevation facade.
Yeah, I think it's going to look great. All right, thanks.
Well, it's great additional growth from the Phase 2 is, I believe, 122,000 square feet addition, and this being the Phase 3, 157,000 square feet of addition. And I know that they've already outgrown, I think, the space there. Township, I know Ms. Ayers has been working with the county to assist with some crosswalks and some ability to help movement of people into some other facilities that they have located already in the Ivy Point, but just not at the headquarters. Obviously, it's needed, and we welcome the continued partnership and growth. So I think you guys have commented on it. Mr. Flaherty, are we aware as far as the representatives submitting this with TQL, as far as the 3 recommendations? Are they an affirmation of the recommended modifications?
Yes, we had met with Miller Valentine, and we've discussed them, and they are there.
Okay. And we got the Director of Real Estate here in the crowd, right? I'm seeing a head nod, yes, up and down. Mr. Gabbard? Okay. All right, gentlemen, well, with that, we can close comments from the board. We're seeking a motion to, in accordance with section 680, 687, the zoning resolution, Board of Trustees is to enter a motion to approve with some modifications, or deny the applicant's request for the major amendment to an approved PD district and the accompanying formal development plan with the 3 recommended modifications. Do we have an approval with the 3 modifications?
So moved?
Second.
No discussions there. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, we'll continue on with the agenda. We've got old business. Gentlemen, any old business to bring to the table? Continue forward. New business. Item alpha, approval of payments. Gentlemen, I ask motion to approve payments as prepared by Mr. Campbell, fiscal officer.
So moved?
Second.
No discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item Bravo, approval of monthly financial report. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
No discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item Charlie, approval of the purchase orders. Approval of these purchase orders exceeding $10,000 as recommended by Ms. Susan Ayers, our Township Administrator. Will you present?
Yes, sir. First matter we have is payment for $35,953.85 for TQL Economic Development Agreement reimbursement for June 2022. $37,249 to Highlight Group for a worksite accident insurance policy for employees. $50,000 to Pitney Bowes for a retail postage meter for the post office. $36,000 payment Duke Energy for Civic Center Gas and Electric for a 3-month period. $23,927 for a new air conditioning unit for records and dispatch to Bachman's Incorporated. $18,000 for estimated fuel usage to Fleet Core Technologies. And then road salt to American Rock Salt Company LTD for $185,000.
Gentlemen, any questions for Ms. Ayers on these purchase orders?
Yes. So first off, the 50,000 postage, that's, we get that back in revenue from the post office, so that's not really an expense for us.
It is necessary to sell that we used at the post office, and we'll be offsetting revenue as we work through the post office.
Great.
Cost of goods sold.
Yeah, also, the rock salt, Mr. Taylor, I guess I'll look at the numbers on that. It looked like, if I did the math right, it's a 34% increase in cost year over year for rock salt, is that right?
Yes, it is for this year. We belong to a consortium that 94 public entities. We bid out over 100,000 tons of salt. Unfortunately, we are at the mercy of supply and demand. So if we have a bad winter, unfortunately, we pay for it. But this is actually cheaper than it was in the past a few years ago. It's probably been back, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, it was $100 a ton. And then it got down to around in $54, and then now it's kind of creeping back up a little bit. So oddly enough, if we have a light winter, the costs go down.
Okay, what about asphalt? You finding similar increases in cost of asphalt?
Yes, the cost of asphalt is solely based, I shouldn't say it's solely, but trucking costs and oil are driving forces of asphalt.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Just a note on the way that the salt is applied, Mr. Taylor and his team, they do a brine, right, to extend basically the capacity of what's purchased and what's actually used. It's not just rock salt going down, but it's a brine. So a lot of benefits you can dig into and share, but it's just a side note we can carry on later. No further questions? All right. Gentlemen, do we have a motion for the approval of those purchase orders?
So moved?
Second.
No discussion, roll call, Mr. Campbell.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item Delta, gentlemen, we asked to approve the establish the 2022 Union Township Fall Junk Days for October 20th through the 22nd, Thursday and Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Do we have a motion?
So moved?
Second.
Discussion on that, gentlemen?
No, sir.
Just a comment, yeah. That seems a very popular program with the public. I mean, it helps keep the township cleaned up because people can hang on to their junk and, dump it at the appropriate times in the appropriate place rather than something inappropriate. And I've personally taken advantage of junk days a number of times over the years. So, yeah, I think it's a great program.
Yeah, very well regarded in the community, and it helps keep the community, keeps trash and litter out of the community. You don't have people just dumping a tire on the side of the road, refrigerator, car battery, you name it. So it is one outlet or avenue to help recover those items. So it's really a way to do kind of a condensed township-wide beautification through one single choke point. So, Mr. Taylor, any key terms or anything we need to share with that as far as what's accepted, what's not accepted for junk days?
Just the usual, no hazardous chemicals, mattresses have to be wrapped, so do sofas, no oils, paints.
No oils, car batteries?
We'll take a car battery because we can recycle them.
Okay,
Do you take tires?
Not really.
Okay.
Not really.
bad example on my part for
Yeah.
tires off the side of the road,
Yeah,
but, yeah.
Not really.
So no tires?
no,
Okay.
no, sir.
What if they're wrapped up like a mattress?
Well, if it slides by, that's shame on us, I guess.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. All right, gentlemen, so no further discussion on that. Roll call, Mr. Campbell?
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, item Echo, the swap 4G 2022-2023 road salt contract award. Gentlemen, we're being asked to make a motion to award that contract to the American Rock Salt Company. They were the lowest responsive and most responsible bidder, and the price per ton was $83.16 for 2,200 tons in 2022 and 2023. Do we have that motion?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call, Mr. Campbell?
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, gentlemen, item Foxtrot, the Eastgate Mall Route 32 corridor development. Ms. Ayers, if you would, please give us a short presentation on this exciting topic.
Thank you. Over the past month, there's been a lot of discussion around Eastgate Mall. Wanted to provide a little update and ask you for some direction moving forward. First, by means of background, so everyone is well, the actual physical mall was built in 1980. There was 837,550 feet in gross leasable space spread out over 105 acres. When you look at the acreage, there are a total of 11 owners spread out in the parcels of different size. One of those 11 owners, a company named Eastgate Mall CMBS, was working through the legal system in a bankruptcy case. I believe they were there for approximately 20 months. Along with this, there was a case filed in Clermont County Common Pleas Court for foreclosure on their property here in Union Township at the mall. This encompasses about 38 acres of the entire mall complex. The foreclosure went through the Clermont County court system, resulted in the 38 acres of the mall property being sold at share foreclosure sale. Without getting into too many details, this is pretty similar to a process of somebody that's getting their house foreclosed on or another business that's going out. They followed the statutory process, and the property went to auction on July 12th. At the sale, the property was sold back to the bank that held the loan on the property for $13.3 million. I have gotten a lot of questions about what's going on. I want to note that we cannot confirm, and the bank has not confirmed what they are ultimately intend to do with they intend to do with the property. But they have told us that they are, while this is being sorted out, the same property manager that was managing prior to the sale is still managing the mall property. The businesses that are in the mall at the moment are all still, have not been affected by this. They are still open. So please feel free to keep patronizing those businesses. Businesses are open and still moving forward through that same property management company. But the question is, what's going to happen next? There's been a lot going on. Unfortunately, there's a serious question about whether or not a traditional mall in concept really works financially in this day and age. As I've been working through the township records and getting on board, it seems the township had previously taken the stance to let this matter get sorted out amongst the private businesses. I understand this as a strategy. But what we have found while this is going on is there has not been a driving force in getting the 11 mall property owners together. Doing things like planning, community input, visioning require money that may not have an immediate return on investment for the businesses themselves. So instead, things have just been kind of going along. The status quo has some update, but it also has some downsides. The downside to this approach that I could see is that the public has never had any formal chance to talk to the appropriate groups together and voice what sort of property they want to see. And we've never really had a driving force trying to get new development moving forward. I've reached out to as many of the mall ownership groups as I could find. I've had phone calls and asked people about the long-term vision for the mall property. Ultimately, I think this is a great example of private businesses having the same goal as the public. We all want this to be a gem in our community and for it to shine and be a bright and bustling center for activity and community pride. But the question is, how do we get to a point where we can keep developing and redeveloping the mall? I'd like the trustees to consider authorizing me tonight to start soliciting a vendor to help us draft a master plan for the mall complex. This will be a group that can work to help solicit interest from the vendors that are currently there, potential owners, interest from community members, and interest groups to determine what concept would work at the mall and some means necessary to get that accomplished. This ultimately would be a cost that we can share in order to help give the group of private businesses a goal and some common vision, and the necessary input from all of our citizens in order to make that happen. We will continue during this process to seek out partners, but I want this board to consider giving me the ability to start driving that ship. One way to accomplish this would be to look towards our allocation of government funds received under the state and local federal recovery funds, or the Arpa funding, otherwise known. We believe this would be an appropriate way to utilize some of the funds in order to help spur the economic development of this asset as well as the whole 32 corridor. The township received a total of $5.1 million of funding. We've used a portion of this to fund capital needs for breathing apparatuses as well as vehicle and equipment needs. By my account, we still have approximately $3 million left in unallocated funding. I'm asking this board to consider allocating $1 million of this funding to economic development needs of Eastgate Mall and the Route 32 corridor. Setting up a pledge for economic development funds will allow me to go to the marketplace owners, discuss the needs, and fit public funds where it makes sense to match those community interests with the needs of the private businesses that they may not otherwise be inclined to spend. This will allow staff a preliminary number to secure planning services, start working with private owners and our community partners to get together a long-term plan and a development that will meet the needs and wishes of our community. Master planning is a first step to try and get everyone on a common vision and a common goal moving forward. We're not unusual in going through this process. Northgate Mall went through a similar process in Colerain Township. When I was working for the city of Middletown, they also went through this process for the town mall redevelopment in that area. I want to be clear, a master plan is not going to cost $1 million, but the economic development pledge will allow us to have a rough budget in mind to help work through the development issues that we hope will come. We hope that this will result in getting a master plan and that really seeing some new development in that area. Having that pledge and the board's support in that rough amount will give us a chance to fill in those funds when it's necessary. There are always infrastructure costs, ultimately expenses for planning, and items like signage and enhancements necessary if we get to a development point where we're getting new businesses in the area. This is a pledge. It is not an ultimate budget. You're not approving spending funds this evening. Each expense under ARPA will need to come back to you for final approval and allocation, so there are some stopgaps and safety nets along the way. For example, if this board agrees with this path, we will issue a request for proposals and bids to secure a planning firm first, and that approval of the contract and spending those funds will come back before you. So you're giving me an overall idea and okay to take some action at the mall, get some things moving, and potentially pledging this $1 million in ARPA funding towards getting that accomplished. There are checks and balances along the way, and you'll continue to review those expenses as they come through. I think using these one-time funds to address economic development concerns allow us to help set up a plan to help move the township forward without having to use our general fund, and hopefully plant some seeds today that will help grow in the future. So I'm asking if the board would consider two things. First, authorizing me to engage in this endeavor, and second, pledging up to $1 million in ARPA funds to be approved along the way for expenses related to the 32 and Eastgate development.
Thank you, Ms. Ayers. That's an exciting role and a place for the township to, say, have the table and have the stage to invite those private business owners to align strategically for a common vision and goal. My perspective on that is even with where the mall currently is for ownership, it's only going to work to align resources to where someone actually wants to come in with a big investment. And I think that's what our residents want to see as far as their engagement and being heard as to what is the most economically advantaged resource that provides for amenities that the community wants. I think about hike, bike connectivity through different retail corridors. We just mentioned the expansion for TQL and helping with crosswalks to go across, Ivy Point. But I think we need to be able to have a crosswalk and streets that can take us through, to the Civic Center here and over to Eastgate Mall and make it a very bright, vibrant community with that smart development focus. So I hear you for asking for authorization to pursue and to start with market research, really. Market research should always be continuous and ongoing because the market changes very quickly. So I'm excited for the opportunity that the township's going to put that out there, or at least you're asking for that, to take initiative, make it a top priority for the township, and actually asking us for a pledge to allow her to engage in an RFP process to a master planning firm and be able to have the support of this board, and as that is as a pledge. And it would come back for anything that actually is expenses. But I hear you too that the master plan is not going to be $1 million. But it's just, are we making it a top priority for our community or not? Are we going to make it a top priority for our community or not? That's just my thought. So thank you for sharing that, Mr. Becker, Mr. Dills. If either of you have additional comments on this at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Logue. Ms. Ayers, first off, I want to applaud you for, you have not been with this township for 6 months yet, and yet you are absolutely taking the bull by the horns. And one of the reasons why this board, why we chose you, was Eastgate Mall. Eastgate Mall, Eastgate Mall, and the fact that you're willing to get this spearheaded and done, and at least our foot in the right direction to get something done. I know it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to take some time. I absolutely applaud you for it. And my goodness, if we get this master plan built and developed, and we have a developer come in and we can get a deal done on the mall, I think this entire township, but also the east side of Cincinnati, will absolutely applaud you. This is why we chose you. This is one of the top 3 reasons why we chose you right here, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. So a couple questions about it is, so I would assume that Dillard's, JCPenney, the Grandma's family, and Kroger would want this done, because if there is a master plan and it can be fulfilled, I would assume their business would skyrocket and do well. Have they committed to you yet to help with taking on some of the cost of this master plan to have it done? Have you got any kind of commitment from them at all?
I
to be
have
a partner?
spoken with each of those entities. They have not committed specific funds, but a lot of what conversations we've had up to this point in time have been theoretical. I mean, until we know exactly how this is going to move forward, it's a bit of a theoretical discussion.
Fair enough.
All of them have indicated they would like to participate in this process and support getting something done, but there's not been that kind of specificity discussed.
Fair enough. Well, just for taxpayers' money, I don't mind the township having some skin in the game, but obviously let's try to convince the actual owners of the property to have some skin in the game as well, if you know what I mean when I say that. So let's split the bill up and be fair about it. At least try to. I'm not telling you how to do your job, I'm just saying, let's just try to, you know, be mindful of the $1 million allocation that we're doing that. But I'm confident that they'll help.
And certainly, it's to everyone's benefit to, even if we're pledging $1 million, to spread that as far as possible. And the way to do that is that we each share some costs and try and make that happen.
But I think by us doing this shows them, the owners of that property and the community, that we are serious. You know, we will get something done on Eastgate Mall, and it will be big and beautiful. So, have you found or dug in, and do you have your eye on a specific, you don't have to name it yet, if we're not there at this point, but do you have an idea of a company to spearhead this project, this master plan?
I would like to issue an RFP and send it out to the market and see what we
Great.
get. I know of a few firms that do work in this area, and I will make sure that they get the request for proposals so that they could submit if they would like.
Yeah.
But I'm a big proponent of saying, let's go to the market and see what comes back to us.
Excellent. Okay. So, last thing I have is, with the master plan, basically, if you know, correct me if I'm wrong, it's basically like an architectural style plan of what the mall will look like, and we're obviously diving deeper into that, but 30,000-foot view is basically an architectural plan of what that area would potentially look like. Am I right when I say that?
That's one of the deliverables. So when
Okay.
you engage that master planning process, I think of a few things that we're asking them to do. The first is to guide the input envisioning session. So having some open houses for community members to come in and discuss potential opportunities. Then working with the business owners to go through that kind of soliciting. Then they look at, okay, what we have from public input versus what do we look at market research, the market availability, what do we think is financially viable? And then coming up with a plan that hopefully marries those two interests together of what's going to be financially viable and what will the community be interested in supporting. And then coming up with what you're talking about, the renderings of, okay, if you go with this plan that we think would work, here's what this could look like.
Excellent. I would just, obviously, I encourage, I'm sure you're on board with this, is when the time comes, to just do everything in our power as Union Township to solicit ideas and feedback from the community. What do they want? I've heard everything from an ice skating rink, you know, ice hockey, I've heard indoor soccer, I've heard 5, 10, 15-story tall condos, apartments that are going above it. I've heard, you know, they want it to look like, you know, Liberty Town Center, Rookwood Commons, you know, everything. So when the time comes, however you feel necessary to communicate with the community, to just make sure we're soliciting feedback and letting the master plan developer know, you know, what's the most popular ideas. So,
That's very important to me as well.
yes, ma'am. That's all I got. But excellent job, Ms. Ayers. Well done. I'm very proud
Thank
of
you.
you.
Mr. Becker?
Yeah, so I like the idea of taking a leadership position on this. I think that's well worth $1 million. I can't think of anything that's more important to the community than the Eastgate Mall. That's something, you know, I've always been hearing about and hearing more complaints about it than anything else in terms of what needs to be, revitalization project. Yeah, I'm really excited about Kroger moving in over there. I guess my one question is really how locked in are we to this pledge?
So it's a pledge, it's your commitment at this point in time, but each expense along the way will come back to you for official approval. So if you get to a point where you're uncomfortable, where you don't think it's being spent in the right way, you are always going to have that stopgap, so that we can, one, make sure each expense is eligible to be spent out of these funds and that we're meeting our federal requirements, but also that you have a stopgap and you're comfortable with expenses along the way.
Sounds good. Yeah, I think it's got the potential to get a whole lot of payback with us. I think it's moving in the right direction.
Thank you.
I'm on board.
Thank you, Mr. Becker. Yeah, Ms. Ayers, again, just it's great to be able to, it sounds like my two colleagues here, they're on board with this. So opportunity to truly make it a top priority for the township, dedicating resources to that in a firm way, allowing you to start the RFP process to bring on a subject matter expert for master planning, envisioning and hearing, again, when they able to bring all owners and everyone to the table. That's not just the owners, that is our community, residents or constituents there. They'll be doing those type of calls, surveys. We're going to generate great data out of that as far as getting feedback information, because maybe it's Eastgate Mall related or maybe it's a Mount Carmel area related. So there's going to be a tertiary effect here that is, I think, a force multiplier and a benefit. And frankly, it's one thing government can do to knock down some barriers to those non-revenue producing costs to operate, here in the township, and where we can be a force multiplier. And, if you're wildly successful with this, I could say, months down the road, we may be having some feedback or getting something where, someone was, they were surveying at General Data Company or in TQL, hearing what their 400 Clermont County employees, want for this area, and being able to solicit feedback and, continue to kind of be a force multiplier for that, for those type of industries. And we can just kind of build around that together. So I'm excited about this. You're asked for the authorization and to engage, and I fully support that. I hear that from both Trustee Becker, Trustee Dills. So, gentlemen, there are no final comments there, no final comments from you, Ms. Ayers, and we'll close this with a motion. We're not committing to it, but we are pledging the $1 million for you to engage in the redevelopment of Eastgate Mall and the Route 32 corridor. Do we have that motion, gentlemen?
So moved?
Second.
No further discussion on this, so Ms. Ayers, we support you there. Mr. Campbell, roll call, please.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, moving on to item golf, our approval of resolutions. We've got resolution 2022-32. This is a resolution appointing one Ohio representative and alternate. Ms. Ayers, if you would, I know you provided us a memo here.
Sure. The township, prior to my arrival, previously signed on to the One Ohio memorandum. If you remember, there was a lawsuit filed in federal court from some entities in Ohio against the manufacturers and distributors of opiates to hold them accountable for their part they played in the opiate addiction crisis that ravaged Ohio. In order to settle those lawsuits, the attorneys took a consolidated approach, trying to reach a settlement from all of the government entities in Ohio to put the matter to rest and try and speed this process along. In order to facilitate that settlement, the parties negotiated what they call the One Ohio Memorandum that the township ultimately signed on to. This sets up the financial terms for a settlement, and it also sets out the structure in which those finances will be paid out effectively. There is a component that resulted in a direct payment to the township that we have received and we'll be talking about at a different point in time. But there's also funding received for a regional organization that we're established and that we're a part of. We are part of Region 14, which runs a few counties in this area. And today you are being asked, this resolution and the next one, first is to appoint some regional representatives to the state foundation to help decide ultimately how the state dollars are allocated. And then also to approve the rules and regulation in the Region 14 governance. So we have some local funds that we'll have some immediate discussions on. There'll be some Region 14 funds that we're agreeing to sign on to. And then we'll have some state settlement funds that we're appointing some representatives to represent the township in Region 14. So hierarchy structure, and each step in the hierarchy gets a little bit different funding. I feel like that was very confusing, so if you have any questions, please let me know. So the two matters before you this evening are to appoint our representative to the state board that will ultimately help decide how to spend the state funding. And then the next matter would be to agree to the regional governance for our Region 14 that is the more local, I think it's 5-county settlement region that will have a separate bucket of funding to allocate for this region.
Thank you for the presentation on it, Ms. Ayers. Gentlemen, do we have a motion to approve resolution 2022-32?
So moved?
Second.
All right, for discussion on it, I'll give you one quick feedback or one piece of information. When this came up last year, it was collaboration with the Ohio Township Association. I saw the notice and call for action basically to send staff and representatives from the township to attend a legal briefing and meeting for signing on to this, and that came in. I got the notice and went on a Thursday and sent it out to our staff, and they got down to it Friday at 10 a.m. and next thing you knew, we had I think the initial resolution to sign on and be a part of this. So this is kind of a further step of that. So something we've kind of been following up on and pursuing for a little while, just to be engaged with this. So I think time will tell what the end result is, but this is just our due diligence to continue and allow us to have representation in that local governance. So that's all I've got to share on it. So if you have any further comments, guys, but otherwise we'll keep pressing.
Hey, how much money are we talking about?
I think time will tell on that, I think, right?
We've received something so far, though?
We have received something so far, and I apologize, I don't have that figure directly in front of me. I can
Okay.
report on it at a later time.
That's
But the funding in its entirety depends on how many local governments pass these participation rules. So there's tiered settlement money. So some of it is yet to be determined, but we have received the first tranche of money. I don't suppose you have that number, otherwise I can report it at a later time.
Yeah, it's actually Fund 40, the One Ohio funds. So far, we've collected $27,529.15.
And so that's our local allocation. We also have the ability to submit ideas and programming to the region to receive some of the region funding. And then ultimately, if we chose to submit additional ideas to the state, we could receive some of the state funding as well.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Ayers.
Thank you, Mr.
No
Campbell.
further,
So, Ms. Ayers, what are your thoughts on ideas?
On how to spend the local money?
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if I have a great presentation for that right now. We're going to have some discussions on the best way we want to spend that. There are some ties to addressing the opiate addiction, so I'd like to have some conversations about what we think the best way to spend that for this community are. If I can maybe put a pin in it, and we're going to discuss it as we move forward.
I'll just speak kind of historically that you obviously, this is a settlement based off the fact of the overuse and abuse of opiates. And so our first responders have seen that type of impact. So those are the logical areas where some of that can go. But again, I think let the team, be able to put a plan together and work with it. Again, that's kind of something from transition. It's not like there's a plan left in place that said, this is what you do with any opiate money that comes in. So I think it's fair for the team to be able to build that from the ground up at this point.
Is there a deadline when to spend the money?
No.
Okay, so I would just suggest because it's a big deal in Union Township. I get it, it's a big deal. Opioid addiction, a drug problem. Personally, I have zero ties. I've never dealt with it. My family hasn't, but I hear stories constantly. Chief hears stories constantly. Our fire department hears stories constantly. So we have a drug problem. We have a depression problem. I don't like just throwing money at a problem. I want to actually try to solve the problem. So I don't know, maybe we can reach out to the county health department or whoever and just, what's an actual solution besides just throwing money somewhere, But I know people are passionate about it. It's an issue. People are depressed and I don't know. So I've heard the concerns. I just don't know what to do about it, So I would just suggest, I don't act like I know how to run a fire department. I would ask my chief or, how do I run a fire department? So I don't know how to run a drug task force or a recovery task force. I have no idea because I've never been around it. But I would just suggest we solicit and get feedback from those that have been around it. And what do we do besides just throw money at it? So there's just an emotional, personal thought. So
I agree, and I think that's probably the best reason, more eloquently explained about why I don't necessarily know if I'm able to speak about it tonight is because I've not had those conversations, and I don't want to pretend to know the best way to utilize these funds to help the community without having some of those conversations.
And it's another example of, can government solve all the problems? I don't know. Probably not, but we can try to help. So, fair enough.
One more question.
Go ahead.
I think it's for Mr. Campbell. That 27,500, have we spent any of that so far?
No, but
Okay.
to get into it, it's really restricted. It's about education programs, it's about enforcement of the laws, it's about buying medications. So, I mean, just a quick thought, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for the emergency services people, where we've had to work overtime and so forth to pay to support this. The drugs that we have to buy and keep in all of our vehicles, that kind of thing. But we're going to get a lot of direction on how we can spend this. It's not going to be, what do you guys want to do? They're going to tell us what we can use it for.
And I'm certain there'll be more information communicated too, as far as best practices with Ohio Township Association. When we look at Clout, we're a member of the large urban townships And, so there's always some good conversations that occur there as far as what are some ways that some other communities are already either taking the effort to lead and engage and, what would fit for ours. So no further discussion, gentlemen. Call roll call. Mr. Campbell?
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, continuing on, we're at Golf Bravo, Resolution 2022-33, resolution approving participation in Region 14 governance structure. Do we have a motion for the participation in the Region 14 governance structure?
So moved?
Second.
No further discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Item Golf Charlie, Resolution 2022-34, resolution authorizing contract to sell police cruiser. Gentlemen, this is a resolution authorizing the 2008 Chevy Tahoe police cruiser to the Village of Hammersville, Ohio, for use by its police department. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved?
Second.
And open it for discussion, or Ms. Ayers, if you want to give a small presentation, or Chief Caviglia, just on the.
Thank you, gentlemen. This was the original Union Township Canine Cruiser when we brought the program back about 14 years ago. It has seen its natural life. We had used it as a backup to our two current canine vehicles, and we've exhausted its usage. We've partnered with smaller townships, jurisdictions in Brown County that quite simply have nothing. And this is a good way for us to use this equipment. I did check within the county, Mr. Becker, and there was really only one jurisdiction that had the canine unit, and maybe not the budget, but it really wasn't appropriate for them at the moment, but thank you for that suggestion. This is just a natural, I believe it's a better show support through countywide as opposed to just shipping it off to auction and getting a couple $100. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief. Gentlemen, any further discussion on that? Or?
I think it's an excellent good faith gesture. There's smaller townships that are struggling, and pandemic, everything goes on, and not a big deal. We're blessed and fortunate to be able to give, so I have no problem with it.
Go ahead, Mr. Becker.
Yeah, so my preference was to keep it in Clermont County, if possible, and so I reached out to Chief Caviglia on that, who looked into it, and bottom line is nobody wants it, so so I'm okay with it going to Brown County.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you. Mr. Campbell, no further discussion. Call the roll call. Roll call, please.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, gentlemen, we got comments from board members for our agenda item tonight. Any comments? Mr. Dills, Mr. Becker?
Yeah. At some point, I guess what I want to have some public discussion about, and a lot of input from the public on this topic, is sometime in the next few months, we're going to be looking at what does next summer look like in terms of our concert series. We get a lot of good input from the community, some of it positive, some of it negative. I read all the comments, I take it to heart. So, I guess my approach is everything is on the table. Do we want to continue to do what we've been doing, the way we've been doing it, because that's the way we've always done it, which is what we do? Or do we want to completely shake things up and make a lot of changes, or maybe incremental changes? So that's something I want to hear from the community on, and at some point, have a board discussion on this openly, and when those decisions need to get made. When will be the timeline on that, do you think? Like in the fall?
Yeah, I would imagine this fall or early winter.
Okay. So in the next few months? So, that's all.
Appreciate that comment, Mr. Becker. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. I think it's an exciting opportunity to be able to look at, currently things have been set where it's an almost every night, Saturday night concert. And, it's difficult for competition, frankly, because we do that, we're competing with bringing in bands that are playing down the road somewhere else. And you can look at other townships, municipalities. I've seen them be very successful with different events that they host and put on by making more of an impact, bringing in something that's not a competed band for just down the street at the bar, when they're able to bring in a national act, something that can be a little bit bigger of an event. We kind of structure with the end of summer fireworks with doing something unique and different. We don't have a band actually that night, and that's always kind of struck me as interesting, because that would be a kind of a good combination for an all-day theme. So I think there's a lot of great opportunity. I think there's a lot of great opportunity when my kind of personal market research has been, being here at the concert series, walking down to the Jungle Gyms pavilion area and RJ Cinemas, and how much and how well do I hear the music. And I think that if, we did some, we can hear it a little bit, but if we strategically adjusted that, I think we can have some synergies there with those businesses and drive some economic development and return on what is happening in the amphitheater in the first place. Because right now, I'll say, you can tell me what you think the average is, but that's deeper conversation for the staff to get into and get feedback from the community in the fall or winter. But what would you average? 100 to 200 people for the concert, sometimes a little bit less. And so it's, it's the same type of comment I've made before. If we're going to have it, let's have it. Or if we're not going to, let's not be in the middle, right? Let's make an actual impact. We're making an impact. So let's be involved. And I think that opens up the opportunity to bring community partners, stakeholders to the table and get engaged. Because again, we've got a lot of residents that live in the area, live and work in the area. And, what's the feedback? What are they excited to see and hear? So, appreciate bringing the comment up. So thank you. Mr. Dills.
Mr. Becker, I love it. I think it definitely needs to be discussed. I brought my kids to the concert series twice, and they hate it. They can't stand it. I don't know what to do with them. It's just not their music, and it's not very, I'm going to say
Conducive to kids.
families. It's not kids. I can't bring my kids there. Would they like instead of us doing a concert every single Saturday, what if we did a family movie night? Put a big fat projector up there with some kind of family movie. They would love that. But would the adults love that? I don't know. So, but also, we have that driveway. I'd love to see some more food trucks down there, because a lot of the folks don't necessarily want to walk all the way back to the parking lot to grab a hot dog or whatever and then come all the way back. And it's not that far, but it's a little far. I like to see them right there on that drive, just different type of food trucks, different ideas. So I'm open to that. Well said, and it needs to be brought up for discussion. Well said. Police nights out. We had two. The sheriffs had one the night before ours. Excellent. Wanted to say good job to our county sheriff and Steve Leahy and Batavia Township. But Union Township obviously is my favorite. And well done, sir. I loved it. Great time. And Mr. Logue, I loved seeing you get chewed up by the dog. That was probably my favorite part.
That was great.
Well done. I thought for sure he was going to take you down. But no, good job and excellent. All the vendors there, all the churches that were there, it's just nothing but awesome positivity, the food. And then Miss Lynn, her and I got to talk for a good bit, and actually a lot of bit. And you were down there, you were busting your tail. You worked very hard. You were sweating and serving. And please pass on the message that this board says thanks to all the Citizen Academy grads for helping out. They're the ones that serve the food, and very appreciative. Very appreciative. It was great. But the police night out was excellent, Chief. And I besides the rain that rained us out an hour early, I don't think I have one single critique. I mean, the dunk booth was awesome, throwing a police officer in there and getting the dunk of the police officer. Just awesome. It was awesome. I really don't have a single complaint, or any critique that I can think of. But last thing I'll say, and I'll wrap it up, is just tomorrow I'm excited. We're having our very first Park and Recreations Committee meeting. Miss Taylor will be there. And look, my goal is just to be quiet and just listen. This is not our parks. They're your parks. And what can we do to, what do the citizens in the community want with their parks? And we can compare it to surrounding parks, what they do good, what they don't do good, and what we can do better. So I'm excited for that. That's tomorrow, 6 p.m. downstairs, or right here. What's that? Oh, Riverview Room. Okay. So, but I'm excited to kickstart that, and we'll get it going. So that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Just a couple quick ones here. You hit the police night out, so yeah, thank you. Police, our fire safety services, Assistant Chief Mark Fife, thank you for that to the team. Mr. Taylor to the service department. I know a lot of work setting up, taking down, and our event sponsors as well. And I'm seeing one of our event sponsors, TQL. We got some representatives in the room tonight, so thank you guys. It's great to be able to work with you on community events like that. So, and our Union Township Citizens Police alumni, so Mel, Jude, DeWitt, and Lynn, thank you. So, one brief thing I want to just share with you, we had, I believe it was last Monday, schedule was stacked, so my mind's a little fuzzy, but we had Auditor Keith Faber in town, and toured a few businesses. We toured, and showed them TQL and talked about that as well. And it was great having Auditor Faber here. Have him sit down with Mr. Campbell and gave us some verification. I'm not going to get into it for privacy and protection of the township's financial resources, but some new trends and some new steps to take to update our policies and our processes for just protecting the township. So I think that was worthwhile and very good. Just, great to be able to highlight the township to those that travel all over the state, so they know where they want to come when they come into our region. They want to come here. So upcoming events, we've got the next summer concert series for Cincinnati Shakespeare Company performing 12th night on Saturday, August 27th at 7 p.m. and Billy Rock Band performing Saturday, September 3rd at 8 p.m. The end of summer fireworks will be September 24th, 2022. The farmers market continues still to be very successful in the Civic Center parking lot, and it's every Friday from 4 to 7 p.m. The post office continues to be open during business hours. Parks and Recreation Committee, as you just said, Mr. Dills, is August 10th, 2022 at 6 p.m. here at the Civic Center. Township Administrative Offices will be closed in observance of Labor Day holiday and on Monday, September 5th, 2022. And our next trustee meeting is September 13th, 2022 at 6 p.m. Gentlemen, we'll move on to our executive session. At this time, I entertain a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 121.22 Gulf 4 for the purposes of preparing for or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees considering their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. Do I have a motion?
So moved?
Second?
No discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
We're into executive session at 7:41 PM.
Thank you. Motion to exit executive session with no action taken.
So moved?
Second.
No discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
We're out of executive session at 8:57 with no action taken.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Now we need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Hearing no discussion. Mr. Campbell, roll call.
Mr. Becker?
Yes.
Mr. Dills?
Yes.
Mr. Logue?
Yes.
We're adjourned at 8:57 PM. Thank you.